Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another chapter in the Hot Seat series. And joining us today is legendary college coach Dick Gould. Coach Gould, welcome to the Recruiting Hot Seat.
Thank you, Thomas. It's a pleasure to join your university sports program here. I'm used to the hot seat, so I'll do my best. I don't like to get too hot.
Well, I mean, I think most people in the tennis world, college tennis world knows who you are, but we're also going to reach to a younger audience that may not. So if you don't know who Coach Gould is, he was the men's tennis coach at Stanford University for 38 years, from 66 to 2004. And they won 17 NCAA men's tennis championships, and 50 of your players became All-American. So not a bad job, Coach.
Well, it's in the players we recruited.
Yeah, true, but you recruited them. And you also named the ITA Wilson Coach of the Decade in the 80s and 90s. So amazing career. And I also understand you're a pretty amazing author. So it's an honor to have you here. I'm going to give you a minute or less just to expand a little bit on what I just described.
Well, that's about it. I was lucky enough to be at one place for 52 years, 38 of them coaching and 14 as director of tennis. It was a great place to work, and I was very lucky to be there and work with the young players. I had the chance to do so, and I think that it was really fun for me because that experience of being a coach when a kid's in college, he's kind of on his own, but not quite on his own, exploring his own way, wanting to be his own person, growing away from his family, so to speak, in terms of being told what to do each day, every day. It really was a great thrill for me to be around young people at that age, and I enjoyed that thoroughly.
I'm sure a lot of people owe you a lot because college tennis develops people more than tennis players, and I'm sure you had a lot to do with many of them.
Well, it goes both ways, you know. Anyone that I enjoyed everyone I had too, so all for different reasons, but incredible opportunity as a coach.
Great. Well, again, great to have you here, and I'm gonna ask you 20 quick questions, quick answers, Coach. So keep it real, keep it simple, no scripts, no filters, just your best insight. And remember, Coach, this is the hot seat, so you bring the heat, and let's have some fun.
So where we go?
Okay, let's go. All right. So the toughest college sport to get recruited and receive a scholarship offer is?
Oh, fascinating. Tough one right out of the box. Hot seat. Wow.
Yeah.
I would say not tennis, because you've done a great job with an emphasis on tennis, not just tennis, but there are a lot of recruiting services, nothing with the experience of yours, but out there to helping, especially with tennis. I see your partners, Saviano Tennis Academy, and so on, and just great people that look to you for help and guidance. But there are all kinds of sports. There's so many opportunities at Stanford. We have Harvard is even more than we do. I think 35, 36 sports, and sports a lot of people haven't even heard of. And so those are maybe the sports a lot of times where people need a little more help.
Well, you said a swimmer and a volleyball player in your family. Did you find out, swimming because of the competitiveness and Olympic sport versus soccer versus baseball? You would say it's pretty even out there it doesn't matter what the sport is?
I would think not. Football it might be a different animal in some ways, but the recruiting net for football is so big and so extensive. And again, it's still mostly an American sport, but when you get into the Olympic sports, you're talking about more international sports, and that's been a big factor in college sports today, and has been for tennis for a long time. I think 1970s or so, at that time, they used to put the countries down for the top 100 tennis players in the rankings, and at that time, there were 60 or almost 2/3 of players in 1970s and 80s from foreign countries in the top 100.
Yeah. All right. So it's competitive all across. I agree with you. The only path from college to pro is to play for a top blank ranked team.
I don't know that's true. We put a lot of emphasis on Division I and so on. I think there's a myth to that. I think that there's so many great schools out there, Division II, III, NAIA, just junior college, if you wish, even community colleges at that level. A good player is going to do well wherever he's given the opportunity to play other good players. And if a school can surround, if he can surround himself or she can surround herself around a school that has other good players or good players in the location from which to hit with and play with each day, that competition makes people better. And there's no question, but that is an opportunity, but it doesn't have to be necessarily a Division I school or I don't think that's essential, but it's got to be someplace where there are other good players.
I agree, 100%. Foreigners in college tennis is a positive or a negative for the growth of U.S. tennis?
That's a good question. And I think that I never gave a foreigner a scholarship because I was able to attract the top Americans. And if I had a chance to know their families, it was just easier. I did talk to Guillermo Vilas when he was down in Argentina. I did talk to Bjorn Borg when he was about 15 years old, but that certainly wasn't the point of offering a scholarship to them at the time. They didn't know what they were going to do at that age. But I think in general that foreigners have really helped the level of college tennis in the United States. Instead of having, I did have quite a few foreigners on my team, but they came on their own without financial help, and they added to the team immensely. Most teams now, I think, most teams who are fully funded with scholarships now have probably half their rosters probably are foreigners. And people say, well, what's wrong with American tennis? Well, my challenge is to the American coaches, we just have to do a better job of developing our own players. And I do think that our own players are having a better opportunity to get better by having the foreigners in the mix to practice with and to play against. And let's don't be snobs. I mean, there's a tremendous difference in cultures that is a fascinating thing to be around and learn from. And that can make a lot of people better people. And I know I've talked to a lot of players who come from schools where they're all foreign and different countries, and their experiences have been gigantic in terms of their personality development.
Just like you said before, competition, the players you surround yourself make you a better player. So I agree. It does make tennis players, U.S. tennis players, better, more competitive. And the coaches have to recruit the best players. They have a job to do. They need to win. So whatever that player is, they're going to go and find them or find her.
That's true. And I think that you'll see that all the time. And you'll see the people at the U.S. Open, the coach of the U.S. Open recruiting players this week, actually. You'll also see them at Junior Wimbledon, at Junior French, at the Challenger events. And if there's a guy who's a pretty good player and also a pretty good student, and I want to emphasize that, you don't go to college to play tennis. You go to college to improve as a person academically and your knowledge of the world and the surroundings. And you're wasting the time of the college if that's all you're thinking about is becoming a better tennis player. Take advantage of what college does have to offer, and that's one of the beauties of our collegiate system. Other countries have tried to do this. I know in Austria, Switzerland, a couple of fellows have really tried to put together a little bit of an intercollegiate system. England has some remnants of that in some sports, but it really hasn't caught on here like it has in the States.
Yeah, I know Mexico has its own college league. Of course, it's not as competitive, but they do have that, and they do offer scholarships. So that would be probably the only country other than the U.S. So if I would start number 10 on a roster, would you advise to find a team be closer to the top 6?
That's interesting. It really depends on what you want out of a school. If you have a school you're interested in going to that really matches up to what you want in terms of academics, in terms of social life, in terms of location, and the other things that university can afford, if it matches you, then don't let where you might play on a team get in the way. As a coach, I would never promise a spot to anyone on a team before a kid came in to school. And we had players start out at number 10 of the team who became, I'm thinking Jimmy Gerfine of New York. Jimmy started number 10, and he ended up 2 years later playing in the finals NCAAs and losing in 3 sets to his teammate Tim May on the finals. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. But I had a lot of players go from 10 or 11 and embrace the competition, not get frustrated by where they were, continue to work hard. And all of a sudden, between college and the summertime play, they took big steps by taking advantage of the opportunities that were there to play these players they didn't normally have a chance to play every day.
Yeah. So in your times, did you like bringing in transfer or JUCO players, or you rather get them fresh from high school?
I don't think I ever had a transfer at Stanford. I don't think I ever had a junior college player at Stanford. I just recruited them out of high school, and I was able to get them. So I think I was fortunate that way, Thomas, because I think once we got it, we didn't start very high. I told everyone I was hired, well, I think we can win a national championship here at Stanford, and people would just laugh at me, literally, including on my own team. They were laughing at me. But we were a solid, near the bottom of the top 10 team, but there's a big difference between there and the very, very top, which at that time was dominated by USC, UCLA. Occasionally Miami or Trinity would sneak in there up toward the top, but SC and UCLA dominated in those days of no indoor courts throughout the country for college teams. And it just was a situation where we were not at the top of the pack, and it took me about 6 or 7 years to get going. About 3 or 4 years, because players want to go where the best competition, good players want to go where the best competition is. I'm not afraid to lay it on the line to try to compete against that kind of player. And so it took a while to attract that. Roscoe Tanner was my first great recruit. I guess Stanley Passwell, Charlie's brother, was my first full scholarship. But Roscoe was the next year came along and was my first guy who said, Dick, I want to come to Stanford because I want to be the guy that helps turn this thing around. I think we can do it also. And that kind of changed our whole team culture and attitude. And I made a tremendous mistake at the first. I put so much pressure on my players by saying, we got to do this, guys. If we win this, we can do this. And if we win this, we're going to go here. And my players would get so tight before a match, they couldn't hit a ball. And finally, in spite of me, we won a championship in '73. And that took all the pressure off me, and I became a much better coach.
It took the pressure, or it added more?
The pressure of my ego saying we have to do this, and backing up what I was telling everyone we could try to do. And so egos can get in the way. You want a team that has big egos. You want people to believe in themselves. But in any team, any athletic team or any business team, a family team, big egos can be the death of you. And so it's really important for a leader of that team to be able to handle those egos and keep his or her own ego in check as well. Absolutely.
If I go D3, I have wasted my money in junior tennis.
Absolutely not. D3 has some great programs. There are D3 programs that are better than D1 programs, some D1 programs. And I'm not talking about a handful or some outstanding D3 programs. Just because they don't offer scholarships at D3 doesn't mean the level of tennis is not good, and the level of coaching can be very, very good. It's a little bit different academically. Also, the schools generally are usually a little smaller than the D1 schools, but the reputation of D3 schools academically is very, very good. And I have to emphasize, remember that you're going to school because you want to learn something. You're not going to school just because of your athletic abilities. And so if you can balance that, then you come out doubly ahead. But you're not going for one reason or the other, probably, if you're a pretty good tennis player or actually a very good student.
A lot of people don't know that the amount of financial aid in Division III may be even higher than any athletic scholarship. They just need to apply and research, because that's
and not everyone needs financial aid either. My most valuable player in men's tennis in Division I, we have 4.5 scholarships, but we have 6 guys who are starters, oftentimes 7, because sometimes there's a double specialist who's playing instead of a singles guy in doubles.
Yeah.
So women, however, have 8 scholarships, a little bit different situation because of Title IX. But the most valuable player on my team was always the guy I could get for free and was willing to take a chance and come and no promise of scholarship, but would come and just take his lumps. And we won the NCAAs largely because of this kind of player. I look at Alex O'Brien, became number one in the world, came to Stanford on no scholarship, took a tremendous chance and won the NCAAs. I look at Mike Flanagan from Dallas. Mike was played number one at Stanford, did a great job at NCAAs All-American. I looked at Jimmy Gerfine, I mentioned. I can go on and on and on about the players who would not have won a championship if it weren't for them, and they were not on scholarship. I had 4 kids play college sports. One played tennis at Princeton. They don't offer athletic scholarships. One was a swimmer at USC. She was an All-American team captain, but they offer scholarships, but she wasn't good enough to get one when she entered college. But she took advantage of the competition and got better. My son was a captain of the swim team at Stanford. He was not on a scholarship, but he took advantage of the competition and got better and was an All-American and team captain. I have a daughter who went to Harvard. They don't offer scholarships, and she was captain of the volleyball team there. So I think you have to look at the school that matches up to what you want, where it is, location, the environment. Look at several schools, big, small, private, public, and see where you think your best fit is. And don't be hung up on a scholarship if you don't need one. A coach's job is to do the best he can to put the best team on the court. And it's his job at state to be looks at someone on scholarship over someone who's better, but not on scholarship. His job's at risk. So no coach is going to do that, really. And I think that since all the players in tennis can't be on scholarship, men's tennis, remember, you have a real value to that team.
Yeah. Rules are changing. There's a lot going on with the new NIL and all that stuff. But we're not going to get into that right now. My next statement or my next question is high school tennis or not?
I really like the idea of a team. I always encourage my kids to play high school sports, which they did all the way through. I also encourage them to play as many sports as they can, as long as possible, or to do something. But the idea of quitting everything just for tennis in the hopes of being the world number one makes no sense to me whatsoever. I think at least through your sophomore year of high school, you could generally play at least 2 sports, maybe even 3, fall, winter, spring. It's getting a little tougher now because of youth club sports. There's a coming season along because there's a lucrative business out there for their coaches, frankly, to coach all year long in the sport. That's requiring more time. Your season in volleyball might be over after 3 months in high school, but you still have a club season that goes on. So it's harder and harder to play more sports. And I really, really don't like that. I think you see so many injuries in sport now. I think a lot of it is because of overuse of the same muscles all year. I think getting variety there in terms of physical freshness and in recovery and in terms of mental freshness is really important. It is very, very significant. So these are factors to consider.
Yeah, probably a result of competition.
Competition and the same practice over and over and over again. I just hope every young player, athlete who has maybe 2 things they like to do. My daughter at Harvard was like to dance, so she was on a competitive dance team at Harvard while playing volleyball for a year. It got to be too much, but at least she took that opportunity to make a decision which sport to continue to pursue. Yeah,
take off the pressure and a little distraction and some fun. Coach, talent versus character in recruiting.
Let me start this from a parent standpoint. I think one thing, your child is going to be with this coach more than you have been in the last 2 or 3 years of your child's life. He's going to be with his child with quality time, 3 or 4 hours a day, up to 6 days a week throughout the school year. And I'm talking when the kid is tired after no sleep, from either partying perhaps, or studying, or travel. A girlfriend breaks up. He can't just go to his room and hide. He's got to come out to practice and be with you. Flunks a test, struggling with college. Many of us do at different points in our collegiate career, struggling with the sport itself, but he's still got to show up. She still has to show up. It's a really challenging time, and I think that you have to look at beyond this team and how the team's doing and team members. You have to look beyond that and try to read the coach as best you can. Do I want my kid with this coach day in and day out, 3 or 4 hours a day under extreme pressure situations for up to 3 years? And I think that's key. And you look at this during the recruiting process. Is this coach ethical? Is this coach promising things he or she can't deliver on? I know my kid's not God's gift to mankind, but is this coach trying to make such to be the case? Does this coach really have my kid's interests at heart? Is he really going to look out for he or she when the times get tough and he's not playing so well, she's not playing so well, going through a difficult time, which everyone does? And a lot of that can be tied to the ethics of recruiting. Is he or she talking down at the schools? Or is he only emphasizing the positive of his or her school? How does he talk about opponents? And do they hate this team, or do they hate this coach, or do they? What are the ethics of the coach? And I think, and morality of the coach. I think that's really, really important and something to look at. And coaches gain reputations over time, and some are tougher and some are a little looser. I never had any team rules, as an example. In college, you make a rule, no drinking. Well, you think my kids aren't going to spend 3 hours a hot practice day on a hot day and go back to fraternity and not have a beer at some point? That's crazy. Those rules are made to be broken. So then you got to try to uphold them. And so my rules were simply like, remember who you are and what you represent. And represent your family and your school and your teammates and yourself with pride and well. Are you the way you want your own kids to be at this time, 25 years from now? Those are questions they have to ask themselves. And will the coach help them do that?
So you answered it clearly. Character is very important. And I like how you turned it around. I was referring more to the player, but you turned it around and referred to the coach. And that reminded me, my friend, which you probably know, Dave Fish.
Yes.
Well, Dave says, when I ask him what is a good advice to the players, he says, don't sell yourself, just ask questions. So you need to interview the coach as well as, give out your own information. It's not just a one-way recruiting, it's a two-way recruiting.
Absolutely. So very important. And also, as a coach, I want to know about the parents.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know what their values are.
Yeah.
I have a team that has a culture, or hopefully has some kind of a culture, or so on. And that culture, I don't have at Stanford. I don't have very many people who can gain it, are really realistic admission candidates, as an example. And Dave didn't at Harvard either. So we maybe couldn't be too selective. We had a guy who had a chance to get into college at our school. We had to be sure that we had him apply, and then once he got in, we had to take our chances.
Right.
And we couldn't recruit necessarily the guy that someone said something bad about. So we did recruit who was out there. And the power of the team itself, the kind of team the coach has put together, really can influence the development of an individual. Guys who have a reputation for cheating, calling lines a little bit close, they can be turned around completely when the teammates starting getting on them in practice. The coach starts overruling their calls. This kind of thing can't be tolerated. We have a tremendous responsibility, especially in today's world, morally and ethically, to help the growth of our individuals and our programs, whatever sport it might be. We have too many examples now of shortcuts, of taking shortcuts to get better. I hate the idea of entitlement. Our athletes now tend to feel they're entitled. It used to be if you got free rackets, you're in free list, and some clothing sponsor, you really felt big time. Well, now you're talking about quarterbacks getting several $1 million a year for playing a game, for God's sake, in college. When I went to college, Stanford didn't have full scholarships. You maybe got tuition. I never got a scholarship. Most of my players, my teammates, weren't on scholarship. but that meant tuition only. And you had to work for your room and you had to work for your board. And that was, if you're the star quarterback, All-American quarterback, that was you too. But now athletes tend to come in feeling entitled, and I hate that.
Yeah.
And I think that as this whole thing shakes out with NIL, you're going to see a lot of changes. And the sports that have to do that, I guess, are going to, I hope, will pull out and form their own organizations, their own leagues, like football, as an example, and not pull everyone else into that fray.
Yeah.
We're already in it, but
yeah, it's the new era, and I'll ask you a question about how you feel about that in a minute. What is, in your opinion, what is the underrated factor in recruiting?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to be yourself. As a recruiter, I have to be myself. I can't try to be someone else. I can't try to be someone to influence someone how I think they would want me to be. I have to be myself. What you see is what you get, the warts, the good points, and so on. I think as a parent, I want to see the kid. I want to know about the kid. If I have a choice between two kids, which I usually did not, if I had a choice between two kids for a scholarship, as an example, then I would take the one all the time that shows a greater character, has the best reputation on the court and off, that seemed to get along with my team the best, who my team liked the best on their visit. But usually I didn't have that luxury.
The immediate biggest red flag in recruiting is?
I think that for me as a coach, looking at a red flag of the situation, I want to hear from the kid. I don't want the parent doing all the asking of questions. Parents, make a list out, have your kid pull it out of his pocket and ask them. I don't mind that. But don't you do all the asking of questions. You're not going to be on my team. The kid is. I think from a parent standpoint, I would watch the coach, and is he trying to make things sound better than they are? Is he honest with me? My kid's going to have to live with him 4 hours a day, 6 days a week for 4 years, for 8 months a year. My kid better get along with him, and he better respect him or her. And I think those things both ways are important.
Going back to our friend Dave Fish, he said to me once, if I go to a tournament and I see a parents carrying the kid's racket, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah, I know how much that's the one kid that can get into Harvard that year, and then you got to take it. Then you got to believe in yourself a little bit and say, I can change this. My culture, my team can change this.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a good team has some kind of a culture, and it just, you have to count on that too, because you're not going to get the perfect kid. Look at your own kids. How many kids of your own are perfect? How many are the same? Your kids, your own kids, are all different. Yeah. And so you can't get too locked into that. You have to rely on your family to make a difference, on their friends to make a difference, on your team to make a difference.
Absolutely. My strategy to overcome not having a high ranking or rating is?
The rankings and ratings have changed so much right now since I've been out of it. It used to be that everybody played the same tournaments. You played all your sectional tournaments. You didn't dodge any. You played in your age group. If you did well then, you went to the national tournaments. They had a set schedule all summer long, plus the Easter Bowl, things like that. And so the rankings meant something because everyone was playing in their own age group in those days when I first started. Everyone was playing the same people 3 or 4 times during the summer, and the rankings meant something. Now there are all these different levels and all these different things they can do. They can play international junior tournaments, they can play national junior tournaments. It's really, really difficult. And if I were coaching now, with the advent of UTR and whatever it is we're using some in the United States, and I think, by the way, I think UTR is very good. I'm sorry to see the United States slow to adapt that. But at any rate, what I do to my own grandkids, because that came along when they were coming up, I'd say, go to the school and look up the ratings of everyone on their team who's coming back to school next year and compare that to your rating. And then if it looks like you're in the ballpark in a school you want to go to, then contact the coach. But don't waste the coach's time of yours looking at a school that your rating doesn't compare. You know, you're not going to be happy that far below everybody, or if you're that far ahead of everybody. So look at things like that, and before you even approach a school, if tennis is important, if your sport is important to you.
Yeah,
we have that fortune. You can measure that. Other sports are all, and other sports with times you can measure.
Yeah,
the advantage.
There's no question. Ratings with UTR and WTN has made a huge difference for coaches. You know, to kind of compare apples to apples.
Internationally as well, especially
international.
Not playing the exact same tournaments. Yeah.
Yep. Tennis will help my admission into a high reputable college.
I think that anyone who does something, who's excelled at something outside of academics, it could be the arts, it could be music, like music or something like that. It might be sport. It could be anything that makes you stand out from the other people, that can bring some kind of addition to the student body. Being foreign, as in coming from another country, coming from a family that has no money. And there are a million needs scholarships out there. Don't ever forget the need scholarships. I'm sure that's really well researched by University of Tennis Recruiting as an example. Just these kinds of things are so important that you can't just look at. There are a lot of ways to succeed and be happy.
College camp versus college showcase. Which one do I choose?
That's a good question, Thomas. The college showcases that I've heard about, I haven't participated in any. I have heard really good things about Ed Kraus. There's a lot of these. He's done a good job with that from all I hear. For me, the thing that got me started and got me known, I was not a great college player. I was at Stanford. I was number 6. Freshman could not play on the varsity when I entered college by NCAA rule. I was number 4 or 5 in my freshman team. So you can imagine, as a freshman, I would have been the varsity team. I wouldn't even been in the top 12. But I never went. I played 3 sports in high school. I worked all summer. I never played tennis all year and I was front of town where there weren't a lot of players. So I didn't have the opportunity to play other players. But I took advantage of that, and it really made me get better and better and better and better. I think that's, ask me a question again. I got sidetracked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was asking going to college camp versus going to showcase.
So I had no reputation in tennis. I was a good college. I ended up as a good college player, number 3 in the team on a good team, and beat some former Davis Cup players from other countries in my last year and so on. But I never played in the summer. I always had to work in the summer. So I took over at Stanford, and I did a good job as a junior college coach, won a couple of state championships, but that's a very limited local reputation. So I didn't know anybody. So I had to figure out, how am I going to get to know these guys? I went to Kalamazoo my first year to recruit in tennis. And I came back saying I'd never go again. It was a nightmare. I mean, everyone's going up and arms around the kid when they left the court. Hey, Johnny, you're going to be the next best player in the world. Come here. I can help you do that. And it just made me sick to my stomach to see the kids upset at this term. I never went back to Kalamazoo. So what can I do? So as an example, you talk about camps. I went to the USTA, and I said, in those days, they had a Junior Davis Cup, Junior Wyman Cup training camps, and you'd go to these camps, and you would play for 10 days, and you try out for the national junior team. If you made that team, that's just before the tour started in the summer junior tour. If you made that team, you had all your expenses paid, and you oftentimes got straight into Junior Wimbledon if you wish, and Junior US Open, and all your expenses were paid, and you had a team jacket USA on it and stuff. It was a big thing. So to be sponsored all summer, you had to be on this thing. So I wrote the USTA and asked if we could host this at Stanford, and I had a big corporate sponsor, Transamerica Corporation at the time, put in a lot of money to help me make this thing really, really special. So at the USTA's expense, the top 10 1600 kids and the top 20 1800 kids all came to Stanford, men and boys in this case, for 3 straight years. And I was not the coach that had to wake them up in the morning. I was the I was the host of the camp, so I was a glad hander, so to speak. And my job was to be sure everyone had a good time here and got to know me, and I got to know them. And that's people started talking about Stanford, and we just did things that hadn't been done before at this camp, and they really had a good time out here, and it led right into a national tournament. It was 20 miles away, the first one to kick off the summer, so it was a natural. And that's how I got started, and that was a camp, not a coach's thing. So, and we also had that called the National Training Camp. All of the USTA didn't help sponsor it. We had a national training camp for ranking kids only, and that was a really big thing. Got some other players here as well, boys and girls.
So good strategy. You brought the kids to your campus for a camp. So great, opportunity to recruit.
And mostly because I didn't know anybody and I couldn't go.
Yeah,
I was one of the first coaches probably to make home visits actually, and realized that was really important. And so that helped me tremendously too. Get before the parents, get before the kids, and it took a while to get established because everyone was afraid to go somewhere that didn't have a big tennis history at the top. And finally we overcame that with Roscoe, a couple of other guys, and had a lot of near misses along the way. But that's the way it goes. We finally started to connect. Once we connected, I think in 34 years, once we connected in that, after the first 6 years or 5 years or so, I think I lost one kid offered a full scholarship too. Mm-hmm. And my job was to get the top kids who were going to college to apply. They all did, who were going to college, and all but one, if they were admitted to Stanford, came if I offered them a full scholarship. And I think that's true. I don't remember any except this one. His coach, by the way, was Dennis Ralston, who just took the head job at SMU, and that was his own personal coach. And he went there. He turned my scholarship down to go there, which makes good sense. Yeah.
We run probably one of the largest showcases. We get about 180 players and 100 plus coaches. So for the kids who are under the radar, that's a perfect opportunity to be exposed. And I agree with camps being effective. If you, for example, want to go to Duke and there's a Duke camp, perfect moment for you to spend a week there with the coach and the facility. So, but if you want to have exposure, I think showcases gives you the best chance.
I've heard great things about them. I didn't realize you're doing that, Thomas. I hear they're really, really good. And of course, that depends. And you have the expertise and the reputation to be able to attract the top coaches to take part in it. And if you do that, then it's a great exposure. I would absolutely.
All divisions, not necessarily Division I. A lot of Division II, Division III. So it gives chances to any kid, any UTR. So that's a good way to get recruited. Coach, professionalization of college sports is a good thing.
All right. Frankly, I don't think there's any place in college sports. If you want to go pro, go pro. You can always come back to college if you want afterwards. And people have done that. Or people have gone to college for a year. They say, well, I'm playing well. I did well this last summer. I'm in the top 100 now. I'm going to turn pro. Fine, go pro. And then most of them come back to graduate later on. McEnroe didn't come back, but a lot of them did. Yeah, a lot of them came back. And so I don't think, in my mind, that's the old school. I just don't think, now with NIL, the way the rules are right now, at least they're changing every day. So it's hard to make comments on this. But right now, I can buy a championship. I can go out and find 6 guys to give me $2 million and offer 6 guys $2 million and buy them for tennis. And I guarantee they're not going to turn it down because no one's paying quite that much yet. And all of a sudden, I have the 6 best players in the country, especially if I don't have to worry too much about admission requirements. And we win a championship. That's it. I mean, to me, that's not a college sport.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And I'm one of the I've been writing and doing all kind of podcasts about that. I think maybe there was a way to take one step forward, but jumping from 0 to paying quarterbacks $4 or $5 million is just too much. But yeah, it's a new era, and I guess
I think it's going to hurt in the long run because the loyalty of the alums who are having to put the money. Then the kid you're paying $4 million a year to gets $6 million somewhere else, then goes the next year. So, but I was funding his scholarship. How do I feel now? I think it's going to turn people off. Yeah. And I just and not every school is in a position can do that.
Yeah.
And I just think it's going to really hurt college athletics in general.
Absolutely.
Football and probably basketball should be out of the equation. Both basketballs should be out of the equation.
Yeah, they should be in a different league. But coaches need to find
their
the
own
money.
league with their own rules.
Right. And obviously, the non-revenue sports like tennis or golf, they're going to be affected because they need to get the money somewhere. So,
Well, I qualify what I say. I'd say right now, if Stanford, as an example, is getting 20% of what the university makes is taking in on athletics. If Olympic sports are, as an example, like from the TV money, TV is the one that's put it out of sight and started because the coaches are getting it $10 million a year contracts. So why wouldn't the athlete want some of that? I can certainly understand that. But we're talking about sports now that don't have that TV contract. And so if those schools that have that can work it out, they're going to be worked out. So the same percentage that they're getting now, they still get from this revenue, then it saves their sports. But any sport in college, an Olympic sport, tennis being included, any sport where the coach thinks, well, I'm always going to be here. I'm a women's sport. I'm safe. That's crazy. From day one, I felt that my sport, tennis, could be endangered someday, and I better get it endowed, the whole program endowed, which was endowed when I retired. Now the costs have gone up. I'm not sure how it is now, but everything, coaches' salaries were all endowed, and their benefits, operating budgets, all the scholarships, all the travel. Those things were all endowed when I left maintenance endowment. We were there. But and that's one reason I want to stay on as director of tennis, to finish that endowment off, which took 14 years, but we did that. So any coach that doesn't think that's important is not going to be around very long, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, in one sentence, that may be a tough one for you. In one sentence, parents' most important role is?
Well, I'm a parent of 4 collegiate athletes. Once I turn them over to someone else to coach in college, as an example, or the private coach at home, I'm not the coach anymore. My coaching comes off the court. Your kid goes away to the first competition and you call him to see how it went. Johnny, did you win? His first question is, did you win? Or how'd you do? And then the next question is, did you win? The worst thing, try talking to your kid when they go away to a tournament to play, something like that. And talk to your kid 5 minutes and simply say, hey, Johnny, how are you? Did you have fun today?
Got you.
Did you make any new friends? What would you do different tomorrow than what you did today? And never ask, did you win? So I think that's the first thing I would say. You're not the coach once someone else starts coaching him. And that doesn't mean you can't be your kid's coach, but that means you're your coach all the time. And you turn over a college coach, you're no longer. Well, I take that back. As a college coach, I would always try to reach out to the players who were really close to their own coaches and ask them before they came to school, what are you working with Johnny? What works for you in trying to get this point across? What kinds of things are you doing to make this point? So I had some idea where he was coming from. And most of all, I didn't want to talk against it. I could talk around it, but not against it. Or I could support it full blast just the way it was. And if it happened to be the parent, I had no problem doing that. I don't think in my years, I don't think I ever had a parent come to me and say, how's Johnny doing? What does he have to get in the top 4 on the team? What does he have to do to this? I've never had a parent ever that way. And I really respected that out of my parents.
Yeah.
As a parent, your job is to be sure the kids are having fun and they have some balance in their life. It's not just sport. It's being around friends. It's partying a little bit. It's just doing other things, other sports, watching other sports. Get them out of that screen, get them away from that screen a little bit. Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Now we're in an age where it's always take. I think it's really important for both parents and coaches to set an example of giving back to the sport, of giving back to something. Life does not evolve around you, one person. It evolves around everyone else around you. And the world now, we have some bad examples of that. And it's just, we have to learn, teach our kids on our teams and on our family team to give back, especially to all the entitlement out there now. I think winning is one thing, but what we're trying to get them to do really is to get better, to improve. And then the winning takes care of itself. The winning itself is not the end result. It's that they're getting better and getting better. And it's hard in tennis because you can't lose the race and but you can lose the race and better your time. That's one thing I got in swimming. My kids could lose the race and yet better the time and feel they were successful. And they were. They better the time. It's a little harder to measure in tennis. It's not a sport where you can run faster or jump higher or swim faster. So, but getting better, and as a coach and as a parent, helping them feel they're getting better, if in fact they are. At least some part of the game's getting better. Some might be getting not better, but something's better. And that helps them feel better about themselves. That's the biggest thing. And I think getting through this whole thing I mean, I really feel that what we did a lot, but we did in the right way. We never talked down an opponent. We never talked down a school. I'd be the first guy in the court congratulating the other opponent before I would my own player, even most times. I think we have so many opportunities to grow as a better person through sport, and we must not lose sight of that chance and take advantage of those opportunities.
Great. Your best advice for a junior player in the recruiting process?
First of all, have fun. Actually, the recruiting process is not bad. I think enjoy it. You're going to meet a lot of new people. You see a lot of beautiful schools, different places. Look at different locations. Look at different sizes. Look at public versus private. I can't see anyone going without looking at probably 3 or 4, probably 6 schools, different places. Sometimes it's nice to be closer to home where your parents can watch you, but sometimes it's good to be away a little bit and more on your own. My kids have done both. My own kids have done both things, and both have worked out really, really well, both situations. So it's a great time, and don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. You're very lucky as parents and as kids to have people like Thomas and his organization, Universal Sports, to help you and guide you along the way. It's complex. It's not that simple. I was really pleased to see, Thomas, your website is not just a sports website. You also have a secondary business or another primary thrust on just college admissions in general. And of course, we don't want that Sam Singer thing to come back anymore and bite us in the foot, but I think we all learned a lot from that.
Yeah. Coach, your best college tennis story is?
Well, I have a couple, but it just I think one was the match we lost. I can tell you a lot of recruiting stories. We lost a lot of them. They're great stories. But I'll tell you one about a match we lost. We were filling up our old outdoor stadium with 1,500 people and selling out when we had Roscoe Tanner and those guys. So I tried to figure out what we could do to get more people in to watch. And so we bought a carpet from a pro tournament that went out of business in Southern California and shipped it up to Stanford. And we laid it out in our gymnasium, which seats 7,500 people in a basketball pavilion. And we took our tennis matches inside. And I think the second year of the indoor tennis, we were playing UCLA, and we played 6 matches outside, number 3, 4, 5, and 6 singles, and number 2 and 3 doubles. And when we finished the outdoor matches, the score with UCLA at that time was 4-all or 3-all.
Oh, okay.
One for each doubles match. So we go indoors. We're playing indoors, and it's packed house. I think we're 100 people from a sellout, 7,300 people, something. The largest crowd ever watched college tennis. A dual match, and the band was there, and the people were yelling and screaming, and no ad scoring. We go inside, and it was UCLA was our bitter rivals, so to speak, our relish rival, frankly, and they were.
Yeah.
And we go inside, and we had a match, went right down the wire. I think my number 2 guy was kind of my number 2 guy. My number 1 guy, I moved to number 2, and I think he was mad about that. He went on to be Brian Teacher, the top 10 player in straight sets. So now we're at 4-3. Pat Dupre ended up getting the semifinals of Wimbledon in the later years. He was playing number one, and he lost a match like 7-5 in the third to UCLA. I forget, Billy Martin or Brian Teacher. I forget, Peter Fleming or someone like that. So it's tied going the last match of the night. It's like 1:45 in the morning. Not one person left. It started at 6:30 indoors. Not one person left. This is the third match in a row indoors. They've all been long matches. It's in the third set, and it's in tie break. It's to go into the tie break. No, it's 5-all, 4-all, and it's no net scoring, and it's 3-all on points to break serve.
Wow.
And they break us. So now they're serving for the match at 6-5. Another 3-all point, and everyone's going crazy. And we hit a winner and break them. So now it's like 5-all or 6-all, whatever. 5-all, not quite the tie break. 3-all point again on our serve, and they break us. So now 6-5 for them. Another 3-all point, fourth one in a row. Place is just going crazy. Nobody had left. Place is going crazy. 3-all point, all four players in net. A great exchange. UCLA wins the hit point, wins the exchange, and wins the match.
Oh my God!
Started at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, about a half-hour break before we went indoors. So over 12 hours of tennis, nobody left, and it was just one of the most incredible sports experiences anyone has ever seen.
I can imagine.
Key rivals, 1 and 2 in the country at the time, and I'm just like that. I couldn't sleep that night. And then I started thinking during the night, I said, this really was an incredible experience. Just how lucky was I as a coach to be a part of this atmosphere. First time it had been done indoors, and then to have this kind of crowd and this kind of a match, and showing tennis to all these people who weren't necessarily tennis fans or sports fans. And so I go out to practice today, and all the guys are down, their heads are down. I sat them down on the court, just on the court itself, and tell them about this. Guys, we were really, really lucky to be a part of this last night. And to me, that was the greatest moment of our experience. It was a losing moment, but it kind of put things in perspective.
Sure.
And, you don't have to win. You can appreciate beauty and excellence, whether you win or not. And that's why certain people you're watching playing now in US Open are so transparent and so much fun to watch, because I can see this in them and how they've transcended having to win and the fact that someone's going to lose, or accepting it for what it is, a well-played match that someone's going to win. And I really respect that.
What a nice way to answer when I ask you the most memorable moment. It's a losing moment. It's not a successful moment. But regardless of that, it was the first thing that came to your head, because it was a big learning experience and a good opportunity for you guys to get stronger. So what a great story. I read one. You may want to correct me about McEnroe at the airport when he was thinking about turning pro. Can you share that with me? But I thought that was pretty cool.
I did a lot of home visits, but it was expensive on our budget. We didn't have a very big budget. So I did them when I felt I had to go recruit somebody. But John came to Stanford, then Mark, the middle brother, came to Stanford, then Patrick came to Stanford. So I had all three of them, but I never did a home visit to get them, because seemed like they were going to come anyway. But John got a little scary, because he had played a lot of tournaments in the East before he came to Stanford, and was doing well in a circuit that Bill Reardon used to run. And he could do that after school in New York, and he played a lot of Eastern tournaments. Guys like Stan Smith and Passerell and Ash and guys like this, good players. And he was doing really, really well, getting semis a lot of these tournaments and so on before he went to Wimbledon. But he went to Wimbledon on the U.S. junior team, and that starts the second week of Wimbledon. In the meantime, he'd done so well in the spring, and he was admitted to Stanford and everything, and said he was coming. He had done so well in spring that he got into the qualifying round at Wimbledon, which starts the week before. And he kept winning and winning and winning. And all of a sudden, he's in the main draw the first week. And he keeps winning there. And pretty soon, he's still in the draw when the junior woman starts, where he was representing the United States on that team. But he had to drop out because he was still in the main draw.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I figure by now I'm not going to see him at Stanford. He's doing so well.
Of course not.
it was something like this. He called. In those days, you could pick the kids up at the airport. There's no rule against it. I think you can again now, but for a while you couldn't.
Yeah.
And I knew he was coming out because Barry McKay, a great promoter and a great player himself, was having a big tournament in San Francisco. So Mac was coming out to that, which started just before Stanford. And he said, called him at the airport. He said, Coach, Mac, I'm at the airport. Can you pick me up? And I just kind of didn't say a word. Finally say, John, I thought you turned pro. I gave your scholarship away. And there's more silence on the phone, and I couldn't help it. I started laughing.
That's so funny.
It was something like that anyway, but it was a nice conversation.
Yeah, what a funny story.
And John was the best competitor. He was an amazing competitor.
I'm sure.
Always quick to represent his country. Very, very loyal to Stanford.
Yeah.
And the best thing I ever did as a coach was not to overcoach him, not to try to coach him, not to change things. He played very differently than I would normally teach someone to play, but he was a genius at it, and I let him be. In fact, I made him take the ball off. And you don't have to treat everyone the same on a team. Believe it or not, it's hard on a team, football or basketball. You're trying to install an offense for 1 week for one game, then you can't afford to have anyone miss practice or a defense. But in tennis, I did this twice, and one was John. I said, John, you played all summer long, played all spring. You're exhausted. I'm going to need you in May. I don't want to see you around the court. Just take your time at school, enjoy college, and have a blast. And I'll see you in January. And he stopped by the courts once in a while, but he had the ball off, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I'm sure you had your handful with him, and you had to know how to treat him.
No, he was a great team player, very, very loyal with the team, and he until the very last home match of the season, where he was a little uptight as the season went on and on and on. He'd lost a couple of matches. He lost to Elliot Telcher, I think, from UCLA in one match. He had lost one match in Texas, that trip we took down there with a 140-degree temperature to a good player, Kevin Kern or someone like that, good player, and I forget who. But anyway, he lost a couple of matches during the year, but he was playing pretty well. In the last match of the year, playing Pepperdine, good team. Alan Parks coached, and their top player is a South African, Eddie Edwards, just a great guy, Eddie Edwards, and a really good player. And Mac kind of was tired at that time, even that time, a little tired. He said, didn't really want to be out there playing, and Eddie got ahead of him. And Mac lost his cool to that match, but he'd been so good all year long. I never gave an umpire a problem, or he was incredible. And so I just let it go and went to nationally so uptight that I couldn't pull him out of the team thing, although I didn't like how he was behaving on the court because it would penalize all the guys in the team. And this was a great team. It wasn't fair to them. And then I had a choice when the individual tournaments came. Do I pull him out or keep him in? And I finally said, you know something? He's been so great to this team all year and so supportive of his teammates. We're playing a dual match, and he had finished before someone else. He beat me on the court to either congratulate or console his teammate. He was just a great team player. Wow. And I just said, no, I can't do it. And I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
Because I pulled guys before, but all year long, he was the last match of the season and the NCAAs. Really, really proud of him, and he just couldn't hold it anymore.
Coach, I could sit here all day long and listen to you and listen to your stories. But we're out of time, and this has to be a wrap for today in the Recruiting Hot Seat. I want to thank you, Coach Gould.
I want to pull a plug in. I want to be a little blatant here. This little book right here.
You see?
Anatomy of a Champion, Building Success and Sustaining Success in Sport, Business, and Life is really written by my players. And really? I sent out 20 questions to my players. Things like essay questions. Did we have a culture? What is the place of ego? What is the role of trust? Things in life that are really, really important, personal values. And I had 200 former players who are still alive. I sent all 200 of them, 166 responded. and I had an amazing response. Jan McEnroe wrote the forward as an example, but incredible responses from these guys. 7 of them became top #1 players in the world in doubles. 9 of them were in top 15 in singles. I mean, these guys all responded. It was amazing. And so these are these guys' answers to those questions arranged in different chapters. And it's a pretty interesting book. And I think a lot of things we talked about are in there. So
what's the name of the book?
Anatomy of a Champion on Amazon.
Okay.
And I think the soft copy is $19. Hard copy's $30, something like that. But it's
a pretty good investment.
It's a new one, yeah. Its second edition was just out last year, and it's just I think for parents it talks a lot about recruiting, some of the recruiting stories, the funny ones, and some of the others, the disappointments that I went through to build up a team, and the guys, all from the guys' perspective, their comments are all throughout the book. They're much more footage in there from them than from me, which is really I've never seen a book on leadership written by those who are being led, rather than a leader who says, these are the 5 keys to success and this kind of stuff. But that wasn't me. So I asked them these kinds of questions. And if there were any secret sauces, the funny was there wasn't one secret sauce. There were like 20 of them. This guy would say this guy would say this. They were all over the map, things that they felt were important. One guy,
I get it for myself.
That kind of thing, you know.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. This was gold. I really enjoyed this, and if everybody enjoyed this, please like, share, share with others. And this unfiltered conversation is coming from somebody who has so much experience. And remember, this is a non-fluff conversation. We're not wasting time. This is the Recruiting Hot Seat. And Coach, you did an amazing job. And I want to thank you again for being part of this.
Tom, thanks for all you're doing for all the young people and the parents who are of college age. And there is a dramatic need for big need for this and in athletics and otherwise. And you're really helping to fulfill that. So keep up the good work yourself. And thank you so much for letting me sit in the hot seat. Look to all of you.
Okay, great.